Have you ever wondered what would happen if, all of a sudden, a new naval war were to break out in the warm waters of the Persian Gulf? What would happen if the United States and Iran, who have exchanged statements and threats for years, finally came face to face in an open sea battle? And if this war begins, will it remain limited to just these two countries, or will it engulf the entire world? These are questions whose answers are not only dangerous but also powerful enough to shake the foundations of global politics. The importance of the Persian Gulf is not new. It is one of the world's busiest oil shipping routes, through which millions of barrels of crude oil pass daily. This is why any tension in this region becomes an immediate threat to the global economy. In the past as well, several incidents here have captured worldwide attention, many of which fall within the scope of rising hostility between the United States and Iran. If we look back in history, we remember the first Gulf War and the major crises that followed. The Iran-Iraq War, then the 1988 Tanker War, in which naval clashes occurred between Iran and the US, all remain clearly written on the pages of history. During that period, the US Navy destroyed multiple Iranian ships and even shot down an Iranian passenger plane by mistake, killing hundreds of civilians. That tragic event deepened the seeds of hatred between both nations. The US has always described its presence in the Gulf as a mission to protect global trade, while Iran views it as interference in its sovereignty. This fundamental disagreement is the root of every rising tension. Iran possesses fast attack boats, coastal missiles, drones, and naval mines, all of which can pose a real threat to US warships in the narrow waterways of the Gulf. On the other hand, the US is a naval superpower with the most advanced defense systems and the world's largest navy. Over the past few decades, both countries have mostly avoided direct confrontation, opting instead for limited engagements and pressure tactics. Sometimes Iran's drones are shot down, sometimes a tanker is seized, sometimes missile tests are conducted, and sometimes covert operations take place in the deep sea. But a full-scale war has never erupted because both nations know such a conflict would push the entire Middle East to the brink of destruction. US allies like Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates also become direct stakeholders, as they consider Iran their regional rival. On the other hand, Iran has several armed groups that support it. So if war breaks out, it will not remain confined to the sea. It could spread onto land and turn multiple countries into battlefields. The Persian Gulf is also geographically sensitive. The Strait of Hormuz is considered one of the most important strategic passages in the world, as nearly 1/3 of global oil supply passes through it. If Iran attempts to close this route, even temporarily, global oil prices could skyrocket. The immediate effects would be felt across the US, Europe, China, and the rest of the world. Iran's defense strategy is based largely on asymmetric warfare. Instead of traditional battles against a stronger nation like the US, Iran may use unconventional tactics, fast attacks, naval mines, drone swarms, and missile strikes aimed at damaging US naval power. This strategy is the biggest challenge for American military planners. Meanwhile, the US showcases its strength through its naval presence, aircraft carriers, destroyers, submarines, drones, and advanced satellite systems. But the real issue isn't technology, it's the danger of escalation. Major powers avoid direct conflict because they know the outcome often leads to mutual destruction. It is also important to note that the US has carried out several military interventions in the region: Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and others. Because of these experiences, the US now thinks many times before starting another war. A conflict with Iran wouldn't be a small, limited operation. It would be a vast and complex battlefield that could last for years. This is why both nations, despite their harsh statements, have avoided a direct war so far. However, if tensions escalate and an incident occurs that pushes both countries toward war, the first impact will be felt on maritime routes. Tankers could be targeted, commercial vessels could be stopped, or an accident could be used as justification for retaliation. History shows that big wars often start from small triggers, and the Persian Gulf is a region where such incidents occur almost daily. If a naval war against Iran begins, the first scenes will involve fast attacks. Iran may use its boats and drones to launch sudden strikes, while the US may immediately respond with missile launches targeting Iranian coastal facilities. But once this initial clash happens, the war will not remain limited. It will expand steadily across the region, becoming more dangerous with each passing hour. This would be the stage where the world watches breathlessly to see what happens next. If the war escalates, Iran might activate its naval mines near the Strait of Hormuz. These mines remain hidden beneath the surface and can explode under large ships. Iran has used such mines in the past, damaging multiple vessels. If this happens again, oil transport could stop immediately, causing global markets to spiral into chaos. Iran also possesses a large number of land-to-sea missiles hidden across its coastal areas. If these missiles are launched at U.S. warships or allied tankers, the U.S. will certainly retaliate with full force. This response will target Iranian coastal installations, radar systems, and military bases, expanding the war onto land. Once the war spreads to land, the situation becomes even more severe. Iran may activate its drone network to strike air bases, oil plants, and key installations in Gulf countries. Past attacks on Saudi Aramco prove Iran's capability in drone and cruise missile technology. The U.S. would then be forced to defend its allies, complicating the conflict further. As the war intensifies, the U.S. may bring its aircraft carrier groups closer and begin large-scale air operations targeting Iran's missile launchers, command centers, and naval bases. Iran, in turn, would use its concealed missile systems hidden in mountainous regions to challenge U.S. air superiority. Thus, a naval war could transform into a full-scale air and ground war. During this period, major world powers may also enter the scenario. China and Russia, who maintain strong diplomatic ties with Iran, might not join the war openly but could support Iran politically, technologically, and even with limited defensive assistance. European countries, under U.S. pressure, could deploy their own naval forces to the Gulf under the pretext of protecting maritime routes. Thus, this war could evolve into a global crisis. Economically, the consequences would be devastating. Oil and gas prices would rise continuously, supply disruptions could lead to fuel shortages in Europe and Asia, and developing countries could face severe economic hardship. Even the U.S. would feel the impact as global trade slows. If the war drags on, Iran could use its strategic depth and activate allied groups in Lebanon, Iraq, Syria, and Yemen to attack Gulf states or U.S. targets. This would open multiple fronts, making it difficult for the U.S. to respond simultaneously, a situation America always tries to avoid. The most dangerous element of this conflict is the presence of powerful missile systems on both sides. Iran's ballistic missiles can strike deep into Gulf territories, while the U.S. possesses advanced interception systems. But even if one missile slips through and hits its target, the destruction would be unimaginable. Eventually, the war may reach a point where both nations realize that continued fighting will only increase the damage. History shows that major wars often end through negotiations. A ceasefire may emerge through mediation by the United Nations or a major world power, but by then, much will have been destroyed. The Gulf economy, global trade, and the security of several nations will have changed forever. If this war ever becomes reality in the future, its impact will not remain confined to the battlefield. Future generations may face economic, political, and security crises. New alliances may form, old ones may break, and the map of the Middle East may look very different. In summary, a naval war against Iran would not be just a conflict between two nations, it would be a test of global balance. Every move would affect the world economy, global politics, and regional security. This is why preventing such a war is essential for the future of humanity. In the end, we can only say that while the possibility of such a war exists, global powers must choose diplomacy, wisdom, and dialogue to prevent it. Otherwise, a fire may erupt whose flames could burn for decades. Naval wars may seem distant, but their effects can reach our homes. If you found this video and its topic useful, then please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with your friends so that more people can benefit from such important and informative content. Your support strengthens us and helps us continue producing quality content.